Today I'm going to create a two-page layout and I'm going to bring in this white Willow cardstock for my background. You're not going to see this cardstock in the background, but I want to build my layers on it. So I'm bringing in this really pretty gray print and then these clouds, and I love these clouds and they're kind of going to be my focus. So this is going to be a baby layout for a little boy, but these are very neutral colors and could be used for a girl as well. I just happen to be creating this one for my nephew. So these white pieces of cardstock I just cut using some metal dies, and I'm going to bring those in and show you some alternatives that you can do yourself. I'm going to tie those layers in with these little 1/2-inch strips of this darker blue color, and that'll give me another color to work with. I wasn't sure of the size photos I want to use or placement as well, so I'm bringing in these photo placement cards, and you could even do this with just plain cardstock. Now this is a great alternative if you don't have your photos printed yet, or you're not even sure what photos you're going to use, but you're wanting to create a particular layout. I cannot tell you how many layouts that I've created that have no photos on them at all, but I will find the right photos for them eventually. I finally decide on this placement for my photos, and I'm using Stampin' Up's Take to the Sky paper collection, and I love this paper collection. It's got a really nice masculine feel to it. I'm definitely going to have a future layout coming up with those airplanes, but I love these little tags and these cards, and I'm going to definitely pull them in. This adorable little guy right here happens to be my nephew. I am so blessed that my brother asked me to create a baby album for his son. How cute is he? I used an old metal die set that I had for those clouds, but I found this fancy borders, and I thought any one of those dies would make the perfect clouds, and I loved this for a baby stamp set, special delivery, sent with love. I mean, look at that border next to a photo, especially if it was a little girl. It is so cute. I'm going to bring in my title and subtitle in place of those last two photos. And this first breath took ours away. I thought that was super fitting for this occasion. And that is from an old Close to My Heart stamp set that I had in my stash called Sweet Girl Scrapbooking. And then I'm also going to pull in another old stamp set by Close to My Heart, New Little One. And I just love that little title, Little One. And I love all those little elements on there. And I want to use that little stats stamp set as well to record all of his important information. And I'm not sure where I'm going to put that, but I know I'm going to use it on my layout. I'm going to map my main photo with this Night and Navy cardstock to really give that pop and make it stand up off the back of my page. Now I'm going to bring in this cutest onesie stamp and die set, and these dies are so cute. Look at that little onesie and the little rattle. I definitely want to use those. I'm going to cut that out using these tags, and I want to cut it out on that gray, and then I'm going to use this boho blue. And if you like that boho blue, make sure you grab it now because it is retiring. So I'm going to bring in a second mat over on my second page, so I have one Night and Navy mat on each side, and I want the rest of them to have that white background. So I thought, why not bring in this really cute ribbon? So we're going to put that across right over top of that strip, and let's color that because I don't want it to be white. You can't see it on those clouds. So I use this dark boho blue and the light boho blue of my blend, and I end up going with the light one because I thought the dark was too dark. I didn't think I could love a marker as much as I loved my tri-blend markers, but I love these. They have two tips, a bullet tip and that brush tip, and I'm using the side of the brush, and I'm not worried about really blending it in, but these blend so smoothly. I love them, and I love that they match my papers perfectly and they match all the ink pads exactly. I'm just coloring the long side of these longer strips, but that little one, I'm going to make sure I do the back and the front because I'm going to use it as some sort of tie. Hi guys, I'm Tanya. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Leave me a comment and let me know where you're watching from, and I absolutely love feedback. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. So I'm going to mount that ribbon on a little bit of that Night and Navy cardstock, and I'm going to use tear and tape adhesive because this stuff is amazing. I've added a bunch of clouds around my layout, and I used the Adventurous Sky stamp and die set that goes with this paper collection. I stamped those clouds in that Night of Navy, and I am going to put double layers and triple layers on a couple of those, and I am going to show you what I mean by that. But first, I want to bring in another pattern paper to give my title something to sit on. And I cut a circle out of that where you're not going to see it using these Spot on Nature dies. And I love these. These are circles and they have like these detail in them or little patterns in them. And they make awesome places to lay your embellishment clusters on, or even to stamp your titles on. So you're not going to see that circle in the background, and why waste paper? This is a torn piece of paper that I had cut when I was working on another layout, so I'm just kind of pulling that in to see if I like it, because why cut another piece of paper, right? I end up loving it, and I'm going to keep it there just like that with that like torn edge on going down slanted like that. I'm just going to leave it. And then I'm going to bring in that circle die over on the other side for a landing place for my embellishment clusters. Now I'm going to make sure I build that visual triangle, and I thought I was going to do it there above my title on the first page, but I end up kind of adding in another embellishment cluster above my main photo. And you see my hands moving up and down here. I didn't think, with my photos being so far down, it didn't give my layout enough balance. It looked more heavy on the bottom. And I was setting it up that way because I really wanted you to see the clouds, but I think you can see them perfectly. And I'm going to move everything up a little more centered so there's balance in my layout. I was looking for the word O, and I could only find it in this old reindeer memory stamp set. And I'm going to bring in that cutest onesie stamp set, and I want to stamp on that little onesie t-shirt, and I want to stamp oh boy. And I just thought that would be cute. So I am stamping that in the Night of Navy ink, and I'm masking that off. I wanted you to see how I do that. I'm switching ink pads now to the smoky slate so I can do a little bit of ink distressing around the edges. And this is just going to finish it out and give it a lot more detail and make it stand up off that page a little more. Cut out a ton more of those clouds using my dies, and this is what I'm talking about when I layer it. So I like this instead of adding foam tape because this adds less bulk in my layouts, and it gives it another effect where it really stands up. If you had a single layer or even two layers, from the 2 layers to the 3 layers really makes a huge difference on how your embellishments clusters look on your layout. I thought those onesies needed just a little bit more detail, so I grabbed my cutest onesie stamp set and I pulled out that stamp, and I just stamped the onesie right on those little cutouts in that same boho blue and smoky slate ink. That gave it just so much more detail, and I love them. So let's glue those down. I also double layered those onesies so they stood up a little higher as well. If I have clouds, I need stars, right? So I'm going to bring those 2 stamp sets in and stamp some stars and add the little time, date, all the little stats to my little nephew here, little Chucky. He was named after my brother there and my dad and his dad. So this little guy here is the 4th, and he was a big deal to my dad because he did not think that our last name would carry on. He was also a huge surprise because my brother managed to keep his mama here away from family events for almost the entire time that she was pregnant. No kidding. And then he was also born on my dad's birthday. So not only does he have his namesake, but he was born on his birthday, and he was quite the surprise. If all that's not enough to put a smile on your face, let me tell you, my brother here was 48 years old when he had little Chucky, and we never thought he'd be able to have children. So this little guy here is quite special. I'm going to use that tag that I cut that onesie out earlier, and I'm just going to rip that apart and do a little bit of edge distressing. And I don't want that green circle, so I added a little blue one and used a hole punch, and I'm going to do a little bit edge distressing just to give this a lot of detail. And I thought that I was going to bring in that ribbon down near that stats. I was just going to tie it underneath, but I think that I'm going to go ahead and just tie it onto that tag instead to give it a lot more detail up top there. Yep, I love it. So I'm going to tuck that in down here, and I'm going to build in. So I tied in that gray up top of there and on the other side, and I want to build my embellishment clusters. So I'm going to bring in a bunch of those stars that I stamped in that boho blue, and I'm going to randomly place them around my embellishment clusters and a little bit here and there on the layout. And I think this is like the perfect touch. Wanting to bring in a couple more words in that heart, so I think that it needs another strip on top. So I'm going to grab that striped pattern paper, or that like plaid looking pattern paper that I used across, add a little ink distressing, and just kind of tuck that in there, put my little rattles up top of there to finish that embellishment cluster out. And this is going to give a perfect place for those words that I want to add to sit. And I got those off of those same two baby stamp sets. I'm unsure about the placement of these other words over here, but I end up finding the perfect placement in the end. My titles feel just a little too plain, and I'm wanting to do something to make them stand out. So I'm definitely going to do some ink distressing around the edges. If you are looking for more inspiration for other baby layouts, I do have other baby layouts on my channel. And if you are looking for ways to scrapbook using busy background papers, check out the last video that I created. I will have that linked at the end of this video. So I'm still thinking that my title needs a little bit more. So I'm going to bring in that boho blue and a sponge, and I'm going to do a little sponging on the top of those words, and this is going to add like the perfect detail. And bringing in that word where I couldn't find what to do with it, bringing that in over there on top of that little one, so precious little one, was the detail I thought it was missing, and I thought this made it really pop. I will find all the links to the products that I am using that are still available, and I will leave them down in the description box below for you to make them easier to find. So let me tell you a little bit more of my story. So my family is in New England, and I was out there visiting because it was my dad's 70th birthday. And my younger brother and I, we had the task of distracting my dad on his birthday and coming up with an excuse why my older brother was not there for his birthday. And we did pull it off in the end, but it was so hard because we didn't want to hurt my dad's feelings, and we were coming up with excuses of why Chuck was not there with my dad out for his birthday. We may or may not have told my dad that we should be his favorites and that we loved him way more than Chuck did. But hey, we had to do what we had to do because we were then going to have to come up with another excuse to my dad to tell him why we had to bail on his birthday. But we wanted to rush up to that hospital to hold this precious little one and still keep it a surprise for my dad. If any of your siblings ask you to keep it a secret of your upcoming baby from your parents, I recommend you say no. I'm really loving how this layout is coming out. I think it has the perfect balance, the perfect detail. I created the visual triangle I was looking for, and I hope you love it as much as I do. Don't forget to check out my next video coming up right now.